all good, baby. It was all...
So if you're ready to break the generational cycle of poverty, revolving prison doors, and a lack of education that's holding us all back, then now's the time to do something about it. So to move from gutter to greatness, it all begins with a change in mindset. Here's your host, Dr. Paul Miller.
Hey everybody, we're here with an episode of G2G, from the gutter to greatness, and we got some greatness with us today. We got this brother who's down in the NOLA being great, but he's being great everywhere, man. This brother is internationally known. And so we're going to get to know this brother today. We're going to ask him some questions. We're going to get down to his nitty gritty, and we want to know his gutter and his greatness. And hopefully he will be able to influence somebody else to become great. So this brother, I'm going to let him talk a little bit and just tell who he is. You know, I could do it, but I'm not going to be able to do it justice the way he could do it. This brother is an international speaker. He is the owner of a humongous STEM company that is putting STEM in the hands of kids throughout this country, throughout the world. And he's really changing names. He's changing hearts. He's changing people. He's changing minds. This brother's doing his thing. So I'm going to introduce my brother here, Dr. Calvin Mackie. Dr. Mackie, tell us who you are. What do you do? You know, why do you do what you do?
Hey, brother Paul, Dr. Miller, whatever name you're going by today.
Hey,
thank
man,
you, man.
I'm just me, man.
Thank you. Yeah. Hey, bro, if to have a show named from gutter to greatness, I mean, that is fire. So you got to be Paul or me, man. Dr. PhD came and EDD can't come up with that. That's just straight street stuff there. And
you already know.
It's beautiful. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here. Anytime I get an opportunity to chop it up with another good brother, I'm always looking forward to it, because, you know, we out here in the mix, and we're doing these things, and they got gators and sharks all around us trying to undermine us. So we got to get up every day and support each other. To the audience, my name is Calvin Mackie, and I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm from Backertown, Gerttown, Zion City. I'm from the lower 9 where we don't mind dying. Paul, I'm from that wild Magnolia. I thought I told you. I'm from that CP3. You know me. In essence, what I'm trying to say, Paul, is that I started from the bottom, and thank God, just like you, I'm here. You know, I was born and raised in New Orleans. Mother went to a state-approved Negro high school. Father dropped out of school in the 8th grade to pick cotton. Literally, I grew up in a house with no books. But my daddy, in the aftermath of Hurricane Betsy in 1965, started a roofing company and employed, hundreds of brothers in the neighborhood, just teaching them skills on how to do roofs. And the beautiful part about that is that he was not formally educated, but he gave me and my 2 brothers and my 3 sisters 2 very important things: work ethic and discipline. I mean, he taught me every day a man got to get up and go out and kill, or he shall not eat. So that's the way we lived in our house. In our house, everybody went to work, bro. At about 8 a.m., everybody was going. The dog used to leave. And the dog
Where the dog go, man? What y'all do with the dog?
He used to come back at 5 o'clock muddy, looking for his dinner, bro. The dog went and put in that work, just like everybody else. So that was my humble beginnings. I mean, my mom and my dad wanted the best for their children. They gave us the best that they had, but more importantly, they knew that there was educators in the community like you that they could trust, and they turned us over to those people, and they made us listen to those people. And if those people came to our house or called, I remember the teacher called my mama one time to tell her I was doing good. And she said, nah, that teacher just wouldn't call his house. I got spanked because she thought the teacher was giving her some sublime message that I was really acting up, right? So The bottom line is that, that was that. I mean, I grew up in New Orleans, and the rest is history.
What's New Orleans like for those who don't know? Because the people see the beads and they see the good time and they see a Bourbon Street, but I'm not sure everybody really knows what New Orleans is really like.
They see Bourbon Street and they see all that, but I tell them, you look at Lil Wayne, you look at Baby, you look at Master P, and I mean, they got it out the dirt, bro. And when I name all those neighborhoods, when you go into those neighborhoods, when you ride, right? And the people that you grew up with riding with you, New Orleans is it was always a very white, black city and a very well-to-do and a very not well-to-do city. And it still is to this day. The people making money, but the majority of people, especially the majority of black and brown people, are poor in this city. Our educational system, in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, was taken over by ed reform. We have the only fully 100% charter school district, a district of charter schools. They took over 124 schools, summarily dismissed 5,000 black and brown teachers and principals and claimed that they were not doing what they were supposed to be doing. When now what we are showing is that the system that they had in place before Hurricane Katrina is actually outdoing the system that they've put in place. The only thing that's different is that the hue of the people that's controlling the economics have changed. So I do think a lot of this was about economics and not so much about education.
How has Hurricane Katrina, how did that influence and change your trajectory or path? Because I know it made a lot of changes in people's lives.
Bruh, I tell people this, some people talk about their lives in different ways, and there's pretty much 2 days that changed my life. May 31st, 1994 at 7 p.m., I watched the undertaker come into our house and remove our mother's body. I was 27 years old. And I had to sit there and watch the undertaker move my mother's body and then grieve with my brothers and sisters. And I often tell people, if you ever meet Kelvin pre-May 31st, 1994, tell him I say, what's up? Because that dude is gone. And whenever I talk about my life now, it's pre-Katrina, post-Katrina. Pre-Katrina, what I didn't tell your audience was that I was a professor. Yes, I grew up in a house with no books. I started college in remedial reading, developmental math. And I went to Morehouse College where I was conditionally accepted. But after 3.5 years, I finished Morehouse, #1 in mathematics, #5 in the largest class Morehouse had graduated at that time. But then I left Morehouse and went to Georgia Tech, where I got an MS, another BS, an MS, and a PhD in mechanical engineering. I got 4 STEM degrees in 11 years. I say that to say, after I got my PhD at Georgia Tech in 1996, as one of 11 African Americans that year to receive a PhD in mechanical engineering, I became a professor at Tulane University. And for 12 years, I was the first and only African American faculty member at Tulane in engineering school, the first and only African American ever tenured. Now, I don't say that to brag. I say that to let you know that there's historic, systemic institutional racism that have kept many people like me out of institutions like private schools like Tulane. But I just happen to be blessed to come back home and battle my way to get tenure. And you ask, how did my life change post-Katrina? When Hurricane Katrina hit, the president of Tulane University decided to keep the football team and eliminate the engineering program. So I lost a 6-figure tenured position at like 37 years old. At that time, 8 people had moved into my house because my family lost 29 houses during Hurricane Katrina. And one of the persons that had moved into my house was my father, who at the time was pretty much had been diagnosed with level 3 or 4 lung cancer. And he eventually died at my house. So the person I was pre-Katrina, this professor, these dreams of maybe being a college president someday or something like that, and the person I am post-Katrina, committed to my community and trying to make sure that we put STEM in the hand of every kid, regardless of their background. That was the pivotal point for me. Katrina was a watershed moment.
Right. Yeah, and I think it changed a lot of people's lives, and just walking the ground and being there where people had went through that, and the injustices of how this country did not run to the aid of you all. I mean, it's just crazy to me. It's like almost you wanted the city to be cleaned out in their terms and wiped away to start over again without providing help and support.
And people don't believe that. I was here in the aftermath of Katrina. The governor appointed me to the Louisiana Recovery Authority, the 33-member board, to help rebuild our city. And one thing that was documented, I went across Canada touring, speaking post-Hurricane Katrina, because the Canadian Army made it to New Orleans. The Canadian Redcoats made it to New Orleans before the Army and the federal government did. And you got to ask yourself how the Canadians can get here to help the people that they saw on the news and the federal government couldn't.
Yeah, that's just so crazy to me. And, it sounds like y'all been through so much, but with that struggle has come triumph with that. And you've been able to turn that struggle into something beautiful. And that beautiful thing that I know about, which I think you do a lot, right? But is that STEM NOLA company you got. Why did you start STEM NOLA?
Man, James Baldwin said, the man or woman who continuously survives the worst that life brings will eventually get to a point where they no longer fear the worst that life can bring. And, you're tired of your thing, from gutter to greatness, man. When you look at the rappers and the athletes who risked it all, right? They say, look, I got $1 and a dream, and I'm going to risk it all, and I'm going for this one thing, and I'm going to get it. I'm going to die trying getting it. And many of us get educated. We get these book smarts, and we begin to fear risk. We begin to fear losing it all because I put in so much work, man, to get this job, and I don't want to lose this job because I don't know. Katrina wiped that fear away from me, And I said, when I walked away from Tulane, 8 people living in my house, I realized then that it was time then to live what I thank God had put me on this earth to do. I mean, put it all in, risk everything. And my goal, when I post Katrina, I went to the Netherlands and I saw little Dutch kids in a middle school that understood the hazards and the barriers and the environmental concerns of their communities better than the politicians I traveled with. And I said, how could we live in New Orleans, especially my little Black kids, and not understand that we were living below sea level and that every day our life was at risk? And I'm blaming myself. I say, here I am, a Black man with a PhD in engineering, in fluid mechanics, and had the knowledge that my community and people needed. And I was too busy caught up in the ivory tower than going into the community and educating my people. So I said, never again shall a little Black boy, a little Black girl in New Orleans walk around not knowing the condition and the concerns of their environment. So my wife, in 2013, we took $100,000 of our own dollars, and we started an organization by the name of STEM NOLA to expose and inspire and engage communities in STEM. In essence, Paul, we take STEM directly to the community. We go into, tonight we will be at the Juvenile Detention Center doing STEM in a probationary program. We're going to be teaching these little teenagers who have gotten into some trouble how to build Bluetooth speakers. I mean, I'll go into the middle of the housing development and take a drone cage and put it in the middle of the street and have everybody come out and start flying drones and start teaching them about STEM. But mostly we do these big programs on Saturday, upward of 200 kids from pre-K 4 all the way through 12th grade. We invite college students out to engage with these students. We pay the college students upward from $10 to $15 an hour. In the last 10 years, we put over $3 million in the hands of college students. And then we surround those college students with STEM professionals. Now, why is that important? What Tracy and I said is that somehow our 2 little privileged boys, still Black males, was growing up in a house with a dad who had a PhD in engineering and mom who was a pharmacist. If they wanted to meet a medical doctor, I called my boy. They wanted to meet a Marvel comic hero, I called my brother. They wanted to meet Obama, and they woke up every day with their arms, with a picture with Obama with their arms around them. But that's not the story for many of our children. So the question began, how do we marshal the human capital and the technical capital back into the communities so kids can see, touch, and feel all of us? So now we got rocket scientists. I done brought an astronaut into the hood in New Orleans for all kids to see, touch, and feel. I done brought actors, actresses, athletes, medical doctors. Whenever we do these big events, we marshal people to the community, and they got to commit to being human and sitting down with our kids and helping them get through this STEM stuff and understand, the possibilities of the 21st century.
I mean, what y'all are doing is phenomenal. I saw it, witnessed it firsthand. And the fact is that y'all are changing the community's minds and putting STEM into their minds. And for those who don't know what STEM is out there, it stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, some people like to say the nasty word you told me you don't like, which is STEAM. You told me you don't like that because they like to add the arts in there. Why do you have a problem with adding the A for arts?
Every time I get in the STEAM conversation, I get in trouble. It's
Let's get
simply,
into
I believe STEAM is the bastardization of STEM, right?
right.
Because most of the time people doing STEAM are arts people screwing up the STEM, or STEM people screwing up the arts. And I respect the artists enough. I respect the people that have the talent to do their art enough. Where I believe the STEM need to partner with the arts. I'm a STEM plus the arts person, or arts plus the STEAM person. When we come together, for example, I do this thing called the physics of sound. And when I do the physics of sound, I invite the local African djembe drummers, and I invite the roots of music in. His brother, my band, Derek Rabin, started this now international band of young people. I invite dancers in. I invite, my man, Troy Davis, playing a little trumpet, and I let them play their music and talk about how, STEM play a role in everything that they do. And then we teach the kids the physics of the sound coming out those instruments. That's a beautiful marriage, right? Mm-hmm. Hey man, I can't carry a note in a bucket. I can't blow. I barely can blow a damn spitball out of straw. So I can't blow a horn.
Right.
And for me to do the physics of sound and not incorporate the real art people, it would be a disservice to them, but definitely a disservice to the kids I'm trying to serve. So some people say that's nuance, but I believe it's more than nuance, because STEM is too big for one person. So how in the hell is a STEM person gonna bring in the arts, right? How do we put our arm around people? And we do this as a collective, so our kids get the beauty of both of it. And I say that as a person that I collect Black art. Mm-hmm. I've written 2 books that got nothing to do with STEM. And I went to Morehouse first with a humanities, liberal arts bent and background. And the arts have been my competitive advantage in my entire career. So I want the kids, and I went to Georgia Tech too. And the little BS arts that they gave me at Georgia Tech did nothing for me compared to what I got from Morehouse. So the Morehouse education and the Georgia Tech education, that STEM plus the arts is absolutely amazing.
Now, you said something in there that caught me, and I'm going to see if the audience caught it a little bit, because I think y'all daddy must have some good stock. Because look, I got this brother here who is doing some amazing things, changing communities, has a witty science and math brain, right? And then you have a brother who is in the arts, who is a superhero. So who's your brother, and who's your daddy, rather, that made these 2 men that is doing these things, man? So talk to us about who your brother is.
As somebody said the other day, I don't know what the hell y'all was drinking in that house, bro, but I want some, right?
Right. Give me a sip, man. Give me a little drink or something, man.
Nah, man, I was with that clown the other night. I was gonna get on the news and say, y'all better put these actors back to work before I kill this sucker. He need to be working. Nah, but my younger brother is Anthony Mackie, the new Captain America. I've watched him grow, develop. His first movie was 8 Mile with Papa Doc, and to see him come from, Papa Doc, a Doc, all the way to Captain America, and the breadth and depth of the roles that he played, it's been amazing. And the crazy part about him, we were out last night, and this cat, he just want to work. He don't want to be a celebrity, right? So people coming up to him, they getting mad because he just want to go to the restaurant and eat. He said, I work just like you all work, and I'm with my brother. And I'm like, no, man, you with the people. He's like, look, man, I make movies, you do STEM, all right? I'm like, all right, dog, all right, but he had a dream. I talk about our mother dying. I mean, I'll never forget, he was in 8th grade, and he sat there right next to me, and all of us were scared. And, her prayers and my dad prayers, and all of us, the family, just wrapped our arms around him and my little sister. And he made it through. And he's doing his thing. So we're very proud of him. And again, he's doing the arts, right? So that's the thing. I'm the STEM man, he's the arts person.
He's an amazing actor as well, and you're doing your thing there. So I know there had to be some, growing up in New Orleans, there had to be like a grimy gutter tale where y'all were afraid for your life. Like, like I need people to understand that. So even though this brother isn't he's very polished as far as where you have all these fancy degrees. You have this company that's very successful. Your brother is one of the largest actors in the world. It takes a lot to be Captain America, right?
No doubt.
But
no doubt.
yeah, where did y'all come from? I know there had to be a gutter tale that y'all were afraid for your life or something. Like, I want people to say, like, yo, this brother, he don't let the shirt and tie fool you. Don't let the collar fool you, because he's from New Orleans.
Don't let the, like I tell him all the time, don't let the PhD fool you. My brother is younger than me, so he's 10 years younger than me. So by the time he got of age, so I left home in 85, 86. And I never forget coming back. And that's when everything had turned, right? Because that's when crack hit the neighborhood. Absolutely. So he was a little kid then. And I'm like, I'm afraid to walk down the street now because, I'm seeing people I knew and they're like, Mackie, don't go around there anymore. Don't deal with this one anymore. And I'm like, what the hell going on, right? I got my boys riding around in Seville Cadillacs, 10 feet off the ground. They got the Coogee hats on, the Kango hats, everybody dealing. And it was crazy. But when I was coming up, it was just crazy stuff we used to get into. I tell a story one night about how my cousin went left, I went right. He got shot. Another night we was hanging out, I went right, he went left. And I sit here today as Dr. Mackie, and he's doing 25 to life in Angola State Penitentiary. So I often say, but by God, somehow I was able to dodge these incidents that otherwise allowed me to make it home. One night that really, really put things in perspective. I used to go fishing with my uncle all the time. And he taught me about knives, right? So he had a buck knife. He had a knife that's a buck blade, another knife that's a Barlow. So we'd be fishing, and he taught me how to peel the apple. And he said, always keep your knife on you so you can cut your line and stuff. And man, one night I was walking home around the way. The police just rolled up on me. Get on the car. Car hot. I put my hands on, put your hands on the car. And started patting me down. And he pulled that knife out of my pocket.
It was legal though, right?
Huh?
I think it was legal. It was illegal in New Orleans to carry.
Hey, bro, I have no idea. Only thing I know, he went in my pocket and pulled that knife out and started asking, what is this? And I'm like, officer, my dad said, always answer, yes, sir, officer, no, sir, officer. Yes, your knife, yes, sir, officer. Where you going? Home, officer. What you doing with this? Sir, I just carry that, to eat my fruit. He's like, we just got to report somebody got stabbed around there where you coming from. So I had nothing to do with this. And I never forget, he said, you want this knife? I said, yes, sir, I want it. My uncle gave it to me, and he took it and he threw it. He said, you want it, go get it. And I wouldn't move, bro.
Nah, I don't blame you.
He kept saying, go get it. You want it, go get it. And man, when they pulled off, I ran home. I ran so fast. I might have been no more than 13, 14 years old, probably. But just walking through the neighborhood. I mean, and to be honest, my dad was a roofer and my dad was an entrepreneur. So everybody in the family could work for my dad. So my cousins would go get in trouble, get out of jail, come work for my daddy. And the most part, we were shielded, in the sense that at least we had resources.
Right.
But when, rolling with our family was rolling with our family.
And what's crazy is even that experience, that could have made you want to give up because that's traumatic, right? And so many of our young people, especially our young men, because we do a lot of talking to them, is that they give up when these things are happening to them or these things happen and they feel defeated. So they decide to just quit. But there had to be a pivotal moment in your life where you knew that you needed to move from the gutter into greatness. What was that pivotal moment for you?
And there was two. I'll talk about one. Really, I mean, there was 2 days. One, I remember I was about 9 years old. My uncle came to visit from California. He and my dad in the corner dealing with their libations. And he brought me a little kit, and I built a little car. After I built the car rolled across the floor. My uncle jumped up and said, that boy gonna be an engineer. At that time, I couldn't spell it, didn't know what it was, I never met one.
Right.
But from that day, Paul, when somebody asked me what I was gonna be, I said an engineer. I had no idea, but he spoke that into me.
He put a seed, he planted a seed.
planted a seed, man. And that's why it's very important for us to, I say we look at kids now, and I say as an engineer, you look at clay, right? You mold clay. But as an engineer, I know this. If you don't mold clay, it still takes a shape. We're looking at many children right now growing up in poverty and even middle class that no one has decided to put their hands on. So we're looking at unmolded clay. That day, he put his hands on me and said, "You're going to be an engineer," and spoke it into me. Mm-hmm. Another day, me and my dad got into it hot and heavy. I believe I was in about the 10th grade. I got into it with my daddy, and he said, "Come here." And he walked me outside, and he pointed to our house. He said, "What you see?" I said, "Our house." I said, "Hey, you ain't got shit here." He said, "You ain't got nothing here."
Yeah.
He said, "This my house." He said, "Now you need to get up every day and work and do whatever you need to do to make sure that one day you'll have a place to go to." Hey, bro. I remember that like it's yesterday.
Right.
Because I realized then, and I have this in my book, right? My daddy said, by law, I only owe you high school. So if it wasn't a law, he probably would have put me out then. He told me by law, I only owe you high school. And from that day, I was like, man, I'm done. I was hustling, working, cutting grass, saving every nickel and dime I could. And I told my son the other day, June 1st, I graduated. June 7th, my parents dropped me off to school, and I told my daddy, from this day on, I'm only a visitor in your house. And that's pretty much was the case.
And you know what? To me, it sounds like you had the blessing of two valuable resources. And the resources were these strong Black men, one that put life into you, the other one that put love into you, but tough love, and told you what it was going to be and how it's going to be. And a lot of our young people, they seem to be so stuck in the mentality. So those things happened, and you decided, I want to do something different. I know I got to be special. I know I got to give back. I know that, my daddy, my uncle, they putting into me, they're making sure that I am something and I want to be something. Why do you think so many of our brothers are stuck out here?
Man, I was speaking recently or something, and this guy came up to me and said, "Man, you think da-da-da-da-da," and he said, "You've done a lot." He said, "But you always use two words that I don't think you understand how powerful they are." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "My daddy." He said, "When you say my daddy, you done said a lot." And right. A lot of our young people, man, I said, I got a beautiful wife, 2 kids. I said, there's a yin and a yang. Kids get different things from different people. Kids get validation from men. And every child seeks to be validated by a man, the one in the house or the one not in the house, but they're going to get validation from a man. And what you said was that I've been blessed to have strong men in my life, whether it was in a park.
Right.
I eulogized my coach here recently, and I remember, we had men volunteering to coach us in the park, and they were like surrogate daddies to it. All right, whether it was at school or my basketball coach, but many of our young people are stuck because they have not been molded right by individuals. We got to model how to get unstuck. We got to help them persevere. We got to show them that this barrier they running up against is just that is a part of life. You're going to hit that barrier. If you get knocked down, make sure you fall on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. You got it, and keep moving. But we're raising kids now, man. They get a mosquito bite, and they're like, "I'm done." They just wither. Oh Lord!
It's crazy, but also I know as a Black man, so on one hand, they're failing to be mentally tough, right? And we know there's historical implications that have to do from slavery and other things that have derived from a lack of mental toughness, because they wanted to, take the mind to keep the body. So our young men are often physically tough, but mentally sometimes a little mushy, right? And so, but that's embedded, and if you look at epigenetics, it's embedded unfortunately, into the DNA. And so we have to reverse that and reverse some of that. We got to reverse it. That is reverse my point. That process by building tough, strong young men individuals. And so, where do we start? Is that why you do what you do? Where do we start?
That's why I do what I do, and that's why I start so early. I mean, the thing about STEM is that there's certain skills you get from STEM, right? And when I say STEM, when you do STEM activities, right, there are things that you get, skills that you get. You get critical thinking, because you got to think through things. When I believe you grew up in New York, I mean, all of us used to make these little go-karts. We used to go steal the basket from the store or something and take the wheels off, and then we have build stuff. And you flip over in the car, you scratch your arm, you get up, you build another car. That's critical thinking, right? How can I make this thing go straight? I mean, but I tell people, even growing up in the hood, my little two little privileged kids, we put them in an SUV now and drive them to the front of the damn subdivision and get on a bus, right?
Right.
Hell, I had to walk a block, 2 blocks, make a left, make sure I get there in time enough to catch the bus, take that bus a mile. Then when I get off that bus, I had to figure out that, hey, when the bus coming, by the time it get to me, it's full. And if I wait at this bus stop, more than likely I was going to be late. So then I had to walk up 3 blocks to make sure I can get on the bus so I can get to school on time. But every block I walked, I was going into enemy neighborhoods, right? Kids at other schools. So a lot of times, people say stuff. I had to have a quick wit with my mouth to keep them off me. Wait for my boy. I said, meet me at the bus stop. We're going to walk this way. Then we had to take the bus a mile and we got off there. Again, on the wrong day, the wrong people at the little corner store, and you're trying to get your milk and your honey bun, they're going to try to take your money.
Yeah.
So I keep telling people that gave us critical thinking skills that many times now.
How you get out of that, right? You got to think about what you're going to do.
We protect our kids from it, right? We protect them from dangers. We don't want them walking. I know it's a different world, but a lot of the things that gave us our ability to persevere and withstand have been removed because of our ability to do for our kids, whether it's picking them up and dropping them off to school, or something else. So when you do STEM, you get critical thinking, you get collaboration, you get communications, and you get creative skills. So I want to involve kids in these hands-on things because we believe hands-on mean minds-on. And as they put these stuff together, they find interest, they find out what they don't like. But more importantly, what they really realize that I can start off with an idea in my head and create something that never existed before. And if we can nurture that type of mindset, Paul, that's how we can nurture people creating the next businesses in our communities, or multi-billion-dollar companies, and investing back into our communities and our children. I mean, that's the long-term plan.
And that's what it's all about, is the mindset. So many times people want to blame the institutions and blame, and I need us to look at us, because it's about the mindsets and it's about doing the work to change the mindset. And so you're implanting a critical thought mindset that is infused with STEM, and you're trying to change the mindsets. I'm working to try to change the mindsets through education as well. And even doing what we're doing here, we're trying to help and hope that somebody listens and is willing to take some inspiration and let somebody inspire them to do something a little different. But you know what I found is that a lot of the things that our young people go through creates trauma and creates trauma and emotions. And so was there any type of real trauma that you had to deal with that you felt held you back or inhibited you from being successful? And how did you deal with that?
You know what? I would say no, but there's a lot of people in my life that says yes. I mean, some of my teachers, when I was in, I guess the 9th grade, I went to this all-white male Catholic school to play basketball. Right. 9 months, 182 days. I remember
nice. You were nice a little bit. You had a little skills.
Oh, bro, I had a stupid crossover and a jump shot that just wouldn't quit.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you still got it? You can still get out there at all? I don't want you to pull an ACL and tear a hammy.
Yeah, that's what I tell my sons. I still got the shot. I ain't got nothing else. I ain't gonna run. I ain't gonna run around. I'm just gonna shoot. I'm gonna stand over here. You throw me that mug, I will drain it on you.
Yeah,
But I ain't gonna jump that high, no sprint that fast. I'm not gonna hurt myself. Man, you got to get on that stage and speak, bro. But I went there to play basketball. One of my teammates now NBA ref. I mean, I played with Avery Johnson, who eventually hit the shot, for
Spurs, right?
Avery
played for the Spurs.
The Spurs.
Yeah.
I mean, we played ball. Played with Master P. We played ball, bro. We balled. That's how so many people know me in the city, because when you was a baller in the city, everybody knew you because you got on your bike and you went from park to park to claim your name. But when I left that school and went to my other school, which was an all-black high school, and I had gone to black schools all my life. This was the first time I went to an all-white male situation to play basketball. And I fought every day. Every day I had to fight, for some reason unknown. I had to fight, whether it was the brothers with the black robes with the crosses on, or whether it was the nuns or whatever. But when I got to my other high school, my teachers still today talk about how angry I was. And they just talk about how, they just said I was angry every day. And I was like, no, I wasn't. They said, yeah, Kelvin, we had to work with you. And now I think, man, when I look at how committed I am to our children in our community, I think it comes from that trauma, And you heard me speak. I tell a story about growing up. I always thought my name was Noel. People, for some reason, no. I was never good enough. I was never, besides basketball, other stuff was no.
Right.
The pretty women, I tell them now. When I was growing up, I used to ask you, may I have your phone number? They used to tell me no.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they didn't want me, but now since I'm hot, bro,
they're all on you, right?
So the people closest to me tell me these stories that obviously came out of trauma. I always felt neglected. Now, when I look back, right, because I think I didn't fit in. I was that little different kid. I was the one under the house playing with army men. So it was never like I had a gang. Even on my basketball team, I had basketball teammates, right. And we still talk. Like, they loved me and I was their leader, but it wasn't like we were rolling. So I don't know where that come from, but that has definitely manifested itself in my entire life in helping other people to be exposed and helping other people to get into networks and helping other people to feel that somebody gives a damn.
So as a black man, what were you taught about having emotions?
Hey, bro, my daddy was hardcore. I mean, my dad was one of them, he came from the country and he thought a man's responsibility was to provide, so you ain't got time for that. You ain't gonna cry. I don't want to hear that. Stop that whining, stop that being, you need to get up and da. So, for me, right now my son's 18 and 20, and I still kiss them on their forehead because, I believe intimacy is something we should get from a man. I want my sons to always know that I love them. So when you talk about trauma, that's the thing, right? There was always this detachment from emotion. And I think that's the thing that drives me.
Yeah, that I was taught that emotion is not good. That as a man, I'm not supposed to have emotion. And I noticed that, and I talk about this all the time, is that going through life, it's caused me issues and problems. It's caused me not being able to make certain connections that I need to make, or not being able to be in touch with certain feelings.
Because you can't be vulnerable.
Relationships because of it.
You can't be vulnerable, right?
And so when did you realize that you could be vulnerable, and what does that look like for you?
I was speaking recently to some women. I said, and this is in my book, I read somewhere, women live longer than men. Black women live longer than black men for 3 reasons. And they say black women live longer, one, because they'll cry. Mm-hmm. No, yeah, well, that's supposed to be the last one. Black women live longer than black men usually because, they'll cry. 2, they'll give it to a friend. And 3, they'll give it to God. You got it? Mm-hmm. 1, we won't cry and we explode, like a overpressurized balloon. We won't tell our boys because we, our ego won't let them say, hey man, this, that. And many of us have even walked away from God, whatever that's supposed to be for us. So where does he go, right? Where do you give that? And for me, man, I've had people everywhere I went. It seemed like God put somebody in my life that let me know it was okay for to be vulnerable with them. I never forget Dr. Carolyn Myers. She was a PhD at Georgia Tech. I'm walking down the hall. She see my hat on. Black woman. She slapped the hat off my head. I'm like, excuse me? Who are you? She said, I'm a professor here. She said, who are you? And she said, because I know you was raised by somebody who taught you better. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. Pick my hat up, put it on. And I'm so sorry for wearing my hat. Because clearly I'm like, this is a black woman who knows what she's talking about, right? Yeah. Now you're talking about my mama. My mama told me don't wear hats in buildings, so you're absolutely right. Meet this woman, man. She take me in her lab, give her a job, give me a job. And I never forget, when my mom died, I went in her office and I cried like a baby. She held me and I just always had people that'll let me know that it's okay and talk to me in such a way that, I couldn't just stand there and be like, this ain't it, Right. And it let me know it was all right. And let me know that if you need this, you come back here,
Now, God provides. And especially when you're willing to listen to what he's saying and you're trying to live his creed and live the mission. And so how has your faith played into your journey from moving from where you were to where you are? And because a lot of times our brothers don't rely on faith, or they turn that voice off and they don't want to hear it because that other voice is speaking louder. So how does that play the part in your life?
Man, I tell people, even the scriptures say, be still, right? Be still and know that I'm God. But isn't it funny? Many brothers don't try it. Isn't it funny the role that jail has played in the role? Isn't it funny the role that jail has played in the lives of many transformed men? Because that's the only place where they be still. You got it? Martin Luther King, one of his greatest speeches was a letter from a Birmingham jail. Mandela went in an angry, rebel and came out 27 years later, an unbelievable world leader with empathy and heart. Detroit Red became Malcolm X. When you look at the stories, right, of just being still and listening to that voice inside of you, I tell people, I was taught religion is for people afraid to go to hell. Spirituality is for people who've been there already. And many a times, man, when I walked in that house, when they moved my mother's body, I had all these degrees, I had all these awards, and they didn't do nothing for me. They didn't speak to me. They didn't support me. They didn't comfort me that night. The only thing that let me know it was going to be all right was my faith in my God. Many a times in school, many times in life, you know my story. I was a professor at Tulane, right. Lost a tenured position with 8 people living in my house. But God, bro, only thing I had to stand on with 4 degrees was God. That's it. My faith letting me know that, hey, tomorrow, this too shall pass. And, God ain't putting nothing on you that you cannot handle. These trials and tribulations are just tests so you can have a testimony. It's my faith, bro, that continues to carry me through all of the adversity that I've been through. And I've been through, to lose it all. Like they said, the only way you lose a tenured position is by act of God. And I tell people when God decided to act.
Yeah, take it right away.
Yeah, God said, look, I'm gonna check you, bro. Bam. And I still didn't lose faith. I knew he just had a different plan for me.
Was there ever a time that you didn't walk towards your faith, and what happened?
Every time I didn't walk towards my faith, I got reminded. And I got reminded, there's a saying that say when there's distance between you and your God, you don't have to ask who moved. All right. And when there are issues in my life, I realize I have moved. I have moved away. I moved away from my faith. I moved away from the discipline that I'm supposed to have in my life, whether it's financial, whether it's physical. I'm having health issues now because I moved away from what I know I'm supposed to be doing in terms of exercising. Financially, my son about to go to college. We're in a good situation because over the years I've been disciplined about what I'm supposed to be doing. And when there's issues with me and people, when there's issues with me and my family, issues with me and my wife, is I have walked away from my faith. I have stepped away and I'm leaning on my own understanding, and my ego getting in the way and my pride getting in the way when that's not supposed to be. You know, the world is an audit world. And right now, you know, we got 4 or 5 days straight of 100 degrees. And people say, like, climate change ain't real and this and that. I say, you know what? I say, Mother Nature is basically math, biology, physics, and chemistry. She don't care about your philosophy. She don't care about your politics, nor your religion. Mother Nature gonna do what Mother Nature gonna do. So, you know, I believe there's an audit world, and our steps are audited. There are things that there's ways we're supposed to behave, right? And when we behave outside of that, there must be consequences. And when I step away from my audit steps based on my faith or whatever, there's usually consequences.
Oh, absolutely. And what I hope is that there's some brothers out there who are listening who are willing to come back into those steps, willing to think about things differently, listen to that voice, develop their faith, but also use that to develop some that faith, use that to build the mental toughness to make some changes. And I just want to be a part of that change, and I know you do too. So what are some things that you're currently doing to help someone else reach their greatness?
Man, we're doing so much. I try to meet people where they are. And when I say meet them where they are, I'm like where they are. Like tonight, we're in the juvenile detention center. You know, I believe everyone is reachable, teachable, and redeemable. So what you did yesterday don't define your present, and your past don't write your future. So, I mean, I'm building a 15,000 square feet, no, 30,000 square feet, $15 million STEM center in the hood in New Orleans. Can be like anything, won't be like anything anyone has ever seen in a Black and brown community in terms of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We just launched a program.
How long before that gets done?
Hopefully 2 years. We're waiting on the final specs from the architects right now. We got half the money, you know, raised, and a commitment really on the other half. So it will happen. We just launched a program. You know, I'm not at liberty to give you the name, but we like teaching kids we're teaching kids advanced manufacturing, right? We're taking 3D printers and we're teaching kids how to make stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I got takeoff agreements from schools and from businesses. So if I could teach a kid how to sell, you know, cup holders that he made 10 in a pack, instead of selling a dime bag, he's selling a bag of 10 cup holders and making more money, and the police ain't looking for him. People ain't shooting at him. He's learning entrepreneurship. He's learning business. There you go. So, you know, people keep saying, you know, education, college ain't for everybody.
No,
and
I agree with that.
Hey, I agree. If you read my book, chapter number 1, I talk about Mr. Trade and Mr. Degree. I got four STEM degrees, and my dad didn't have any, but he had a trade. My daddy probably made more money with his trade than I ever make with my 4 engineering degrees, right? But here's the deal. College ain't for everybody, but education is for everyone. Now, you got to decide how you're going to be educated. Are you going to be educated with a skill, or are you going to be educated with a professional degree?
You got to be educated somehow.
You got to be educated somehow. My boys would go to the NFL. They say, man, the first thing they did was put that big book in front of me, and I had to study. You know, the quarterback out with the Phoenix Cardinals, you know, they made him sign a deal that he was going to study tape, and everybody like, that's racist, that's racist. And the people said, that ain't racist. We knew he wasn't studying tape. Oh, y'all playing on myth. They said we used to give the cat blank tapes, and he'll come back like he
like he was watching them.
Like he was watching them, bro. So at some point, you got to say, look, hey, bro, to be is to study. And I want to hammer this one because you asked me what I'm doing. This is what I'm trying to teach young brothers. To be is to study. All right. You know, if the Saints, and we love the Saints, if the Saints show up on Sunday and get clobbered, we're going to claim they didn't do nothing during the week. They were in the club. They wasn't studying. If you want to be an actor, I told my brother, you got to study. You want to be an engineer, you got to study. You want to be a roofer, you got to study. You want to be a dancer, you got to study. You got to put in some work, bro, for the performance. Too many of us just want to, we just want to perform, and that's why that mental that's where that mental toughness come in, right?
Right.
And that study part.
Right, because it's more about the process than the product.
It's more about the process.
If you love the process, you're going to have an amazing product, and it's going to be more fine-tuned. It's going to be more cared about, more taken care of. And so, I hear you saying you're helping people develop the process.
And we're putting them through processes, right? And that's why I say everybody's reachable, teachable, redeemable, because I refuse to be to the people I'm working with what other people are. And I keep telling them, they come in here, they mess up. They're like, Doc, I messed up. Yeah, you messed up. And I let them have you messed up. And I want them to feel bad. And then I pat them on the back and say, look, bro, now come on, we're going to get this right. Because I want them to be redeemed, right? I want them to be redeemed. Because the world is unforgiving. And you go out there and do what you just did to me. And I'm my brother's keeper. I am definitely my brother's keeper. The only question is, how long am I supposed to keep you? When you start hurting other people around here because you refuse to be redeemed, you refuse to learn, then we got to let you go, because nobody's bigger than the institution.
No, I agree. I think one of the most important places I ever spoke at, I went to a jail somewhere in New Jersey, in between New Jersey and Philly. And so, there was some brothers who was doing some hard time. And I went in to, kick some motivation and try to speak to them and just inspire them any way I could. And, just seeing the brothers like that locked up behind the bars and seeing the hurt and the pain behind their eyes, but also the hope that they could turn it around and do something different, and just trying to give them a message that would inspire them. That's what this is about, and trying to change their mindset so that they could do something, so they can move from the gutter to their greatness, regardless of whether they're locked up or not. Because even being locked up, their mind don't got to be locked up. Their mind can be free, and they can now begin to free themselves as they transition into from behind the jail cell. And I just think that's important, is to give back. And I commend you for going into the jails today. They need that. You're helping them build critical thoughts. You might give them a spark or a skill, like your uncle put that into you to be an engineer. This might make them want to get out and become an engineer.
And that's what I'm telling them. When you get out of this, I got my daddy roofing company, man, everybody knew they had a job. If they get out of jail and literally show up, my daddy put them on the roof, right? And that's what I'm telling people in the community. I got you. Now you got a shot. Now come on. And my wife be like, you just hire everybody. That's right. Everybody through the door. You got it. And because, hey man, but I could have been one of them. Easy. I mean, most of my cousins are. I mean, easily, a wrong turn one night. And my whole life could have been totally different. So I love what I do, bro. And more importantly, I love who I do it for. We're gonna do STEM this week, and I'm going to Martha's Vineyard. And they invited me up to do a STEM camp on Martha's Vineyard, right?
Okay.
And this is the Tootie Woody Doo, people and their kids. Mm-hmm. And somebody
tell them I need some money for my organization. Tell them I need to bring STEM NOLA to STEM Rochester. We're still working on that, brother. We've been working diligently to try to get the program here, because I believe in what y'all doing, and we got to find a way to get it here to our kids.
We're gonna get it there, and I'm gonna work with you to get it there. We're gonna find it, man. But my point too, and I meet a lot of people with money, and they say, our kids really need this. Come give it to them. I say, what about Pookie, Ray Ray, Jose, and Mary?
Right.
If you really think this is beneficial to your little upper class son and daughter, which it is,
absolutely,
how beneficial it is to the people over there?
They absolutely need it, because they don't get it, and they need that.
Because they don't get it. And if your son and daughter growing up in all this privilege, and you damn they got to shove it down their throat, what you think about the kids over there? So what we're doing now, man, we're creating value in the hood. Like you say, gutter to greatness. We take these big events and put them in the hood, and now people with money got to come to the hood to get it. And they're like, won't you come do it over here? I'm like, nope, if you want it, the value is right here. And the people in their community appreciate the fact that we've created value in their community. They can walk out their house now and get this. They don't have to go way across town to fly a drone. And that's, that's what I mean by meeting the people where they are, bringing value to the people and making ourselves accessible. A lot of my friends are successful, but they're not significant. Paul, when I met you, bro, I said, this is a brother I want to know because you're trying to be significant.
Absolutely.
And we need more brothers and sisters trying to be significant rather than trying to be successful.
And the thing is, I can't forget where I came from to help people get where they're going. So at the end of the day, I know that we got to duplicate some things. So if as we start to close here, if you had 3 things for someone to duplicate, to shift to their own greatness, what would they be? What would be your 3 tips that you want people to move from the gutter to greatness? If you had to give somebody drop some gems on them, what would that be?
They said people change for 1 of 3 reasons. They change because people only change because of 1 or more 3 reasons. They change when they're given enough, they change when they learn enough, and or they change when they hurt enough. And Paul, our people, too many of us are hurting too much before we change. So the 3 things that I wrap around my own 2 kids, I wrap around my nieces and nephews, everybody I come in contact with, I believe there's 3 things that we should work on every day that move us from gutter to greatness, to move us wherever we are to where we want to be closer, is that first and foremost, we got to work on our skill sets. We got to get skills, man, in the 21st century. You got to have skills to pay the bills. The man or woman who doesn't have skills asks people how much you pay. The man or woman who does have skills tell people how much they charge. So we got kids in India and China that got skills, and they emailing me every night trying to get me to hire them to, copyright my book or do this, a bill, a code. We got to make sure our children getting skills. And we got to make sure we getting skills, whoever we are. Adults got to get upskilled. You got to get reskilled. You got to go learn. And I keep telling people about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence will not displace you. People using artificial intelligence will displace you. So you got to go learn how to use Chat GPT. You got to learn all these AI tools that they're coming out with. 2, after skill sets, they got to work on their assets. What are assets? Assets is not so much money. Assets is the people in your life. If you don't know where you got here today, look at the 5 people you hung out with 5 years ago. If you want to know where you're going to end up 5 years from now, look at the 5 people you're hanging out with now. Look at your circle and change your assets. And then the 3rd thing is the thing that all of us have been talking about, mindset. If you get your mindset right, that's going to force you to change your skill sets and assets. You can get your skill sets and assets right and still have a messed up mindset and blow it all in the club. Blow it. You see these athletes with all the skills, with all the money, all the friends, and blow it all because they had the wrong mindset. With the right mindset, you transform your life and many people around you.
No, I want to thank you, Dr. Mackie Calvin, for coming on and dropping gems, dropping beautiful knowledge on the audience here and helping us move from gutter to greatness, and just leaving people with a few words. My mindfulness minute here is that, this brother's gutter to greatness story has came from what I believe is his faith and from his resources, from his faith and his resources. And that has helped change and create opportunity for him. His mindset changed and his skills and his assets changed, as he just said. So if you want to become greater later, if you want to move from your gutter to greatness, as this brother has shared with you, start changing your mindset, start forming new habits, new rituals, and new routines, start planting better seeds, and then watering those seeds and putting the right things around you that will grow those seeds. So now you will have new assets, you will have new skills, and you will have the ability to be great. And so that is the episode of Gutter to Greatness, Beyond Barriers, the journey of triumph and self-discovery. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. We just want you to get greater later. Peace until next time. Peace, love, and soul, like Don Cornelius would say, right? We out.
That's it for today's episode. So head on over to iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener that posts a review on iTunes will win a chance in the grand prize drawing for a $25,000 private epic VIP day with Dr. Miller himself. Be sure to head on over to guttertogreatness.com and pick up a free copy of Dr. Miller's gift. And join us on the next episode.